Google has some great options with the presentation tools when you're presenting Google Slides. So we're going to take a look at those right now. You can see I've used my pen on the screen here. To get started, we're going to go and just select slideshow. So I want to move this over, and we're going to select slideshow. And we're first going to look down in the bottom left-hand corner where we can turn on, let's start with captions. So we can, to help our audience, we can turn on captions. We also have the option to change the size of the captions. I've got these set now at very large, so that's nice. I can also have the captions showing at the bottom. So if I change captions to the bottom, they'll appear at the bottom of the screen. So that's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. The other is you do have the option of using the laser tool or the pen tool. The laser tool can be a little distracting, but you have the option. And let's go back to previous. And then you also have the option to use the pen tool. So if you wanted to teach a math lesson, for example, and use the Google Slides presentation to do 1 + 1 = 2. You can use that as well. All right, now the other option you have when you're presenting is, I'm going to go ahead and escape out of that. You have the option to use the presenter view. And presenter view is not used very often, I've seen, since it was first released, but here's a couple of things you might want to know about it, just in case you want to use it yourself. So the first thing is you really need an extended screen if you're going to work with presenter view. It works best that way. So in this case, my presentation that you see here would be on a projector or displayed in a Google Meet or Zoom, and then I would be running this somewhere behind the scenes where somebody couldn't see it. It doesn't work very well if you only have one screen to work with, just keep that in mind. But what it does work well for is rehearsing a timed presentation. So if you know that you're going to be presenting for 30 minutes and you have to make this exactly 30 minutes and you want to know and you want to practice what you're going to say, you can use this as a means to, I'm going to go ahead and hit reset. And so this resets the, and I go and I say, welcome to Spring Reminders. Here is the next, I can move the slides. I can see a little snippet of it. If I want to make this bigger, I can, right? And I can say, today I'm presenting to you all of our spring reminders and the playground rules. Now on the right-hand side now you see the speaker notes. So the playground rules are this, blah, 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 blah. I go to after school. The after school options this spring are this. And just a reminder, the outdoor and indoor attire is this. So I've just timed my presentation. I've practiced it over and over again. I've worked out the kinks and I'm more confident now and able to deliver that presentation. I recommend that if your students are going to be presenting, that you show them this tool because it's a great way to practice your presentations, okay? The other piece of this presenter view is you have the option to share audience tools. So if I were giving this presentation and I click on Start New, it will, let me take this away so you can see, it gives me this Ask a Question option. So if I share this link in the Google Meet or the Zoom or with my class, or they type it in looking up at the screen from their Chromebooks, it will take them to a page where they can ask questions. So let's say you were giving this to a group of parents, either online or in an auditorium. They could go on their phones, they could go on their computer, and they could type in questions as you go through the presentation. Keep in mind, when you turn it on, it automatically defaults to just people in your school can add questions or your organization. So you'd want to change this to anyone if you're going to want to use it with the outside public. And then when they go to that link, this is where they can ask a question. When do the new rules start? And so on and so forth. Now, when folks ask questions, I've used this in online webinars a lot. And it can be super helpful. If you have a small group like we have, often I don't turn it on because people are often encouraged to just, ask their question. But if you have a large group and you're giving a large webinar for an hour, you may want them to have the option to do that. So I just want to make you aware of that. And then when the questions come in, I'll show you what that looks like. You'll see the question here. All the participants will see questions and they can upvote them. And you see the questions on your own interface. If at any point you want to present the questions and talk about them with your group, you just click on present and it shows up on the screen, and then you click on hide and it takes it away. If you've never used the question and answer feature, try it out with your students, pick a presentation that you want to deliver, and tell them they have to ask questions and try to get into that engaging them in back and forth with them to have more of a conversation. It's just something you might be interested in using. But that is how you use those. And when you leave the presentation, you leave the presentation. However, if you do leave the presentation after you have had question Q&As, you can go back, you can click on presenter view, and if you go to audience tools, you can start a new one or you can continue the recent session that you had. Okay? All right. And finally, in the next and last video, we're going to be talking about the benefits and how-tos for publishing to the web.